And NewsNation continues to bring you the latest as more bold claims come out about UFO sightings from high-ranking sources. Now, a longtime investigative journalist saying that Russian military had dozens of interactions with UAPs, chasing them, even firing at them. The shocking claims coming from investigative reporter George Knapp in the form of a statement submitted directly to Congress. Knapp also claims the UFOs retreated at unbelievable speeds and, quote, may have incredible capacity for retaliation. We want to bring in Nick Pope now, who investigated UFOs while working for the British government. It's good to see you in person. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your background? In what capacity did you work for the British government, and what were you tasked with investigating for them?
Well, I was a civilian employee at the Ministry of Defence, so the UK equivalent of the DoD, and I worked there for 21 years. But for much of the early 90s, I was assigned to a division where my duties were looking at the UFO phenomenon, researching the entirety of it, but investigating the individual cases and assessing the defence implications for the UK.
And how did you what was your opinion walking away from this job in terms of the national security risk that UAPs pose?
I came away, I mean, I went in open-minded, but, you know, I was like, come on.
Yeah.
I came out, I was like, wow, you know, it is a defence and national security issue. And there's even an equation that defines threat, and it's capability times intent. Well, the UAP capability seems to be really impressive.
Yeah.
The intent, unknown.
Yeah. Can we talk about this recent revelation with George Knapp, alleging that Russia had dozens of encounters with UAPs, chasing them, even firing at them? What is the credibility of the source, in your opinion, and what do you make of this letter?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's really interesting. And I think one of the original sources is Boris Sokolov, who I met some years ago. And he was very immersed in the Russian government's program. We at the Ministry of Defense knew that the Russians had a program. We know the Chinese have a program. I think this is really good. The key point about this is it's put back onto the agenda the fact that this is a global phenomenon. We've been talking, obviously, about it's been very US-centric. And a lot of people all around the world watching these stories are saying, well, what about us? This is important to say. These sightings happen everywhere.
I'm really interested in that idea because it sort of seems like, unless we are just not privy to high-level conversations that are happening between nations about this, countries have been largely siloed about this information. At what point, and do you hope, there will be more international cooperation going forward?
Well, some years ago, there was talk of the United Nations taking a role in this. But frankly, I had some discussions and they didn't really want that. The real problem is that you can do that at an unclassified level. But the moment you get to the really interesting stuff, it's all classified.
Sure.
And clearly, there won't be information sharing there.
Knapp also claimed that high-ranking U.S. military officers consider UFOs to be serious business. And he's one of many accusing the military and the government of knowing a whole lot more than they're letting on. Can you personally attest to that being true?
I think there's always more than you disclose in public. It was the Ministry of Defence policy for years to downplay, deny and debunk all this. Now, we in the UK didn't have a spaceship in a hangar, as someone like David Grush has alleged, but we've got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. What is the most interesting thing? I mean, I'm sure you have read many things that would turn our hair white and be very shocking to the layperson. What did you find personally most interesting during the hearing this week? And what do you think still needs to be done? What needs to happen next?
Well, it is, of course, the implications that we have not just craft, but bodies. Sure. I mean, this biologics. So we need to know about that. And that's interesting because we've heard a lot from theoretical physicists and engineers. Now I'd like to hear from some biologists and geneticists about all this. And I think what happens next, more hearings, Congress tries to validate the claims, and of course NASA's study reports next month.
I appreciate that, and I think there's sort of a Venn diagram of Americans who are particularly interested in what's going on right now. There are the people who've always been interested in UAPs and UFO sightings, and then there are those who are just pushing for government transparency, and they're interested in how our government works and our relationship with them. Are you of the opinion that Americans have a right to all of the classified information that the government has about this? Or do you think that there does need to be more of a drip release that doesn't cause mass hysteria?
I think we can be more open, but usually when information is classified, there are good reasons for that. And it's because things could be weaponized, because we don't want an adversary getting hands on it. So I think I'd like to see more out there, but let's not just blindly say, OK, give them everything.
Sure. OK. Nick Pope, I appreciate your time and expertise. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.